Some have said, that if planting sort of gives the structure to the landscape, then the materials, the hard surfaces, are what gives it its sort of character and feeling. I've always had that interest, the tectonics of how things go together and how materials express, the character and the quality of a designed landscape. This research is looking at the non-vegetal materials, the hard materials like paving and walls. As I looked at the period from the 50s and 60s to today, there seemed to be periods where there was a bit of a lull in what landscape architects were doing. Started to kind of look at why that might be, why some landscape architects were being influenced and doing things sort of experimental, and why there were periods of time when there wasn't that much innovation. A colleague of mine suggested I look back in time, in addition to what's happening in the last 60 years, and look at Fletcher Steele's work. Fletcher Steele was a landscape architect that worked in the 20s and 30s up to I think the 60s. He is the one, as I found out, that sort of informed Americans about the French modernists and what they were doing. So he was very instrumental in bringing this sort of new way of working to these American modernists. That led me to his best known work in the U.S., an estate called Naumkeag. Luckily at Naumkeag they had just restored the afternoon garden, which is a piece where he used anthracite coal as a ground surface. And so to be able to see it in this really pristine state because it had been restored was fantastic. I timed it just right. And then the Blue Stairs, which is the most iconic piece of that estate that he did, and it had been restored as well. So and to see the photographs of it before the restoration, it had worn. It's very important that we experience landscapes to understand them, and it's very important for me to be able to experience them and experience the space, but then look at the materials up close to sort of see what that does to that experience. Maintenance and durability is incredibly important. I think more so maybe for us than in architecture, because people always know that buildings, mechanical systems have to be changed and repaired, and windows have to be washed. But when you talk about landscape maintenance, people are like, well, I want a low maintenance landscape or no maintenance landscape. Well, that's impossible. It's not going to happen. There can be less maintenance, but landscapes deserve the same sort of respect and care that buildings do.